So the idea here is when you're trying to build when you're trying to build an application, right? So for example, this is your app, right? And for example, you're going to be showing a list of like the name, information, address, right? Address and other information about, let's say, students. And so this is your app, right? This is your application that you're building. And somewhere there's a student database, right? There's the student database. That contains all that information. So the idea is instead of statically or manually typing in the name, address, and all that information that you need, is you can make a request for some information, right? This can be depending on their ID number, right? Or it can be a wildcard request, like give me all of it, right? So you make that request, and then from here, this will give you that information you need, and you will need some type of driver for this application to be able to talk to the database and at the same time package that data that you need back to your app. And so that is called a driver. And the driver is depending on what kind of database you're using. If you're using a SQL database, it has to be a set of drivers, but those are all built in to Visual Studio. So if you're using Visual Studio as your development platform, all of that, those drivers that you need, like for Oracle, all the standard and popular databases, they're all built in there. Not the older ones, they're not really there. So you will need this because that will dictate what kind of data you're requesting, and there's a certain way it gets packaged back to your application. So within Visual Studio development environment and the Access database, that database we're going to use is called Access, and it's just a desktop database. You need some type of OLE database driver, right? And for the version of Access we're going to be using, you will need the ACE OLE version 12 driver. And Microsoft called this one the Microsoft Access Engine driver. But this is the actual version of it, ACE OLE. I forgot what ACE means, but object linking and embedding. That's how you connect to external. I don't know if you guys have used Excel, Microsoft Excel. Well, you can actually connect to external data. It's called OLE, object linking and embedding. It's the same idea. So, and the reason why I'm explaining this is so that when you try to create a web application, desktop application, it's the same idea. You need to have the driver built in your application. It's more complicated if it is a web, because on the web you have to have the driver built in somewhere in your web framework. Unlike on our system here, all we need to do is install this driver on our computer, and you will see when you try to connect to a database, it knows that that's the driver you need to use right away. But if you're creating a web application, you have to specify what is it, the connection string. So we're going to have some old examples of that. And if you're going to be getting into web development, software development, you need to understand this. Because you will hardly find a project that doesn't connect to a database. A lot of desktop application projects or web application projects, they all have connection to a that has a backend database. If you use some of this new CMS like Drupal, WordPress, all of those has backend database. If you actually install WordPress, it will actually install the database, the MySQL database for you, which is really cool because you don't have to worry about it. Back in the day, you have to figure that out yourself, but this new modern frameworks now with development, and they will actually install the database for you. So I just want to show you guys this because this is how it works with how you connect into a database. So save this 4340, no 30. Spring DB Connect. All right, so let me launch Visual Studio. And before I do that, let me just open up. Because this one takes time to open, so I don't want to interrupt it. So let me just open this up. There's an Access database that I've used in the past. It's called Music, and I used to teach personal productivity, which is advanced Excel and advanced Microsoft Access. So I'm just going to show you just that this database has contents. It has music albums, that has album ID. So it has some type of existing database schema, artist ID. It has all the artists and all the songs, and there's link to an album. So an artist have multiple albums. So there's an album, and these are the artist ID that actually connected to the album. And for each album has songs. Does that make sense? So I don't want to get into teaching database class, but if you look at the database schema of this one right here, you can see that for every one artist can have multiple albums. So there's like one to many. And for every album can have multiple songs. So if you get into the database, there's one important thing that you have to understand. So I'm only showing this just to show you that it's part of it. If you're creating an application that involves a database, is you have to understand database schema, database relationships, and stuff like that. If you take a database class, you will learn all these techniques. No, I don't want to save any changes, right? So again, there's data in there, right? So I'm going to show you that. So that's my database right there. It's called Music. So the first thing that you have to do in a database is I will create a new project. And what is that exclamation point? I'm not going to. Okay, so Music DB Connect. Okay, so I'm going to call it Music DB Connect in those forms application. need a faster computer. All right, so I'm gonna have a text box here, and I'm gonna make it a multi-line text box. And I'm going to have some vertical scroll bar right there. And I'm gonna call this one txt output. Okay. And I'm gonna have a button here. And the first thing that we'll do is a button that btn show artist, and we're going to call this one show artist. Okay, so, and all we're going to do here is we click on the button and it will show all the artist name that is available from the database, right? So that's one of the main goals of our application.
What do you name on the TXT, by the way?
I named this one.
I mean on the TXT.
This one txt output. Just call it txt output.
Okay.
And this one is show artist. Again, the first goal that we have here is we click this button. We're gonna have some type of database connectivity. We grab that data and then push those content into our output as a list, right? So first is what you need to do is make sure that you can connect your data source. And earlier you guys saw that I have this simple access database that I have here. Make sure it's not open because if it is open and you try to actually read it, you'll get an error. So make sure it's not open. So first is add a new data source. You can actually do it here, or you can actually go to your Solution Explorer right here. Not solution. You go to your, where's that data? I think Server Explorer right there. No, it's not there. I would have to look here. No, I don't want to go there. Okay, so view toolbox. I saw it. I just saw it earlier. It's data. It's called. There you go. Oh, well, we can create a data set here, binding source. All right. So we can. Let's not do that thing, but let's connect to our database first. Build. Let's do it here. New data source, right? So it's going to ask you, what is it? It's a database, service, object, SharePoint. So I'm going to say it's a database. We're connecting to a database. And what are you trying to get from database? And then you say, we're trying to get a data set because we're grabbing data value from it. And if you select database, automatically it will actually select data set. So you're okay there. You don't have to change anything. The next thing now is one of the most important things that you have to understand and remember. So this connection string right here, we will use that later. So make sure you have like some type of notepad, so you copy this because we're going to use this later. And you can just you can just open a notepad here and you can just say, and just paste it there. We're going to be using that connection string later, right? Let me, right there. We're going to be using that connection string. And that is specific to identifying what driver we're using. Remember we talked about this driver earlier? Make sure that you install this. Again, this is called the Microsoft Access Engine driver. Back in the day, it's just called the OLEDB version 12. But Microsoft now is calling it Microsoft Access Engine Driver. So,
Quick question.
yes, yes.
On the HCCDB, is that some sort of, in other words, is this a music file? Because that's not a music.
Yeah, no, it is a
file
it is.
extension, but that means it's some sort of file within your database.
Yeah. Oh, the HCCDB.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an Access database.
Oh, it's an Access database,
yeah.
but it's not a music file. But do you store a music file in the Access database?
Yeah, it is like a music catalog of
Okay.
some sort. So I just called it music. Yeah, I'm gonna just call it music. So it said here which connection. So I'm gonna select music ACCDB, or you can just actually go new connection, and then again see this one Microsoft Access database file. That's the driver, and which database I'm gonna be using. I'm gonna be pointing it to the one I have on my desktop, which is this one right here. So I'll select that, and then I'm not gonna mess with this, and click test connection. Make sure that Visual Studio can actually see it. So if you see that test connection is succeeded, you're okay, then you click OK here. And you can see the string is still the same, right? It's still the same, so I don't have to copy and paste it. So you click OK, you click next, to copy the project, and I will say no, I don't want it to copy within my project. And the reason you don't want to copy in your project is most of the time when you create an application with a backend database, you don't really pull that database within the project file. It's an actual separate one. So just say it has to point externally. So, yeah, well, I'm okay with this connection string. I'm okay with that. So you just click yes. And then which database objects you want to use, and then from this point on, I will say, okay, for this one, I would like to select the artist, and that is called the music data set. I'm gonna call artist.
Can I ask another quick question?
Yeah.
Okay. This is just information about music. In other words, it's textual information.
Yeah.
It's not a wave. I mean, it's not a.
It is not different. No, it is just a music catalog.
Okay, I was going to go. Wow, they. I don't know how to put MP3 files in the Access database.
Yeah. Well, you can actually it has some type of object data type.
Okay. That's something I've never played with. One of these.
Yeah, but this was just a music catalog.
Yeah, this is a catalog. Okay, just curious.
All right.
Sorry to interrupt, but it's just that would be something really new I haven't ever learned.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. So you click finish there, and that will just be one of the defined, and you just put it here. It's one of your binding source right there, right? So it's just gonna be there. And the nice thing about that is if you go to your, I think it's this one right here, you can actually look at your data. You can see that it's there, right? So that's one thing you can investigate on where your data is at. So this one right here, it doesn't. I removed this one, so I'm gonna delete that. I don't want it to interfere. So we only have one connection, right? So the music ACCDB. So next thing you have to do is make sure we go to our code here, right? And hopefully it opens up. And make sure that the OLEDB namespace is actually here because we're going to be using a function that will read data and parse data from the data that we'll grab from the database. We're going to grab it from the database, but it is on a certain format that it has to parse. And we need that tool to parse. So here we're going to add using system.data.OLEDB, right? If you're using an Oracle database, if you're using a MySQL database, that's probably going to be different. So each database handles it differently. But in this case here, that's what you're going to have. So now let's go back to our button right here. First thing is we have to define our connection string, right? So we say string And we're gonna call this one DB connect string equals. And remember that that thing we copied earlier that I did not save. God.
You did Control C, I think, so it's still.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's on my clipboard, right? You're right. Yeah. So let me copy that. So I'm gonna paste it here. Let me just get more space there. Put a semicolon there first. And as you can see, C# is not so fond of backslashes, but our path into our data requires backslashes, right? That's just the path to the database. So you have to escape it. How do you escape it? By putting 2 backslashes. Okay. It doesn't like 1 backslash. If you make it 2, it's escaping the first one and then using the second one. We haven't used this, that's why it's green, right? So that is our connection string. It's telling us, if you're telling the app, you're going to be connecting to a database called Music ACCDB, and this is the path to go to your source, and this is the driver you're going to use to read that data, right? Again, in any type of data backend connectivity you're building, web application, database application, same idea. You need to have some type of connection string. The driver and the actual location of it. The next thing is the query string, and this one here requires some knowledge of SQL, which means structured query language. So if you take a database class, you're going to learn what SQL means and how to. It is another programming language specific to actually manipulating database.
What is it? Query.
Oh, query is like extracting data from a database given certain conditions. Yeah. So a structured query language. So here, what did we actually? What did I say we're gonna do? What are we gonna do here? We're gonna
Pull the
artist names. Okay. So say string. Query string equals, and then you specify here the query string, which is the SQL that you're going to execute. So you say select artist, and I'm just going to explain this real quick, but you don't. It is that's an entirely different class. It's a database class from artist order by artist, right? So what that means is select this data field. So if we open up this database, there's a table called artist, right? So what we're saying is select, I'm gonna just open this, select this column from this table. Select the column name from table name, and then sort it by or order by this field name. It just so happened that it's the same. I want to sort it by artist as well, because we want to sort it alphabetical. All right?
It's case sensitive in this situation.
In the Microsoft one, no, it's not. But if you go to like the Linux, if you do MySQL, some of them are Oracle, some of them are case sensitive. Like the actual reserved word, like select, from, order by, you have to put them in caps. Yeah, I have to put in caps. So let me just close this. So that is our query string. And then we're going to accumulate the artist name into an output. And then put it right here, okay? If what the
If it just gets stuck on opening repositories and it never opens your project.
it never opens the database file, or then it opens up.
Just like the .cs file and give you your format.
Oh, if you're opening like a project file,
Yeah.
well, that means that something got erased, because no, your project files. Let me just answer his question here. But let me. So if you go to a project file, right?
Yeah.
It's always this solution file here and another folder.
Okay.
Something got erased within this structure right here that it's looking for. Does that make sense?
So the whole thing's just ruined?
Oh yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
alright.
Yeah.
Any way to prevent that from happening or no?
Don't erase it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't. What it is really the only way to prevent it is if you open up a project. There's only one file that you have to deal with. Actually, back in the day, there are other files here, but Microsoft deleted those files because it gets too confusing. They only left one file, the main solution file,
Okay.
and everything else they put inside a folder. But everything before, all these, they're all outside.
Alright.
So you don't know which one is the main one, right? So that's why they actually did it this way.
Okay.
But good question, and that's why. All right, so the next thing now is a lot of code. Can I just copy and paste? Yeah, I'm just gonna copy and paste them. I'm trying to be brave here, like I'm pretending like I'm typing it from scratch.
If we're gonna do something like this, we probably won't have to make databases, right?
Yeah, because you have database admins. I mean, they usually set that up, and they will give, if you're the developer, they will give you the connection string. They will give you the this SQL statement. I mean, in a general sense, in the ideal situation, in an ideal environment, that's how it's supposed to work, right? Yeah, but like in my case, we don't have a separate systems analyst. We don't have a separate programmer. We don't have a database admin. That's pretty much me, and sometimes some other person that we hire. So I'm stuck with setting up the database, developing the query string, the database connection strings, and then at sometimes actually developing the app. So it depends on. So let me just open that file real quick and make things a lot quicker for us. It's not this one. It's somewhere here, I know. I need to remember where that is. There it is. Yay! So what I'm doing, guys, the one that stepped out is I was really trying to be brave and sort of pretending that I'm creating this from scratch. I don't want to type anymore, so I'm just going to copy this old code. Hold on, let me. God, it's too big. The texts are too big. Damn, where's the end? Using begin. I think it's this one right here.
All right. So remember earlier when we actually defined this Microsoft Data OLEDB, right? So remember I told you that all this does is when you run this OLEDB command right here and execute it, all of this is pull that data you're trying to get and put it as a package, right? But we want to be able to read line by line, right? Because it's a package, but we can actually go line by line on that package to get the different names. So first thing is this one right here is specifying the connection we have, or actually no, instantiating the OLEDB connection class. We're calling it connection. So we're instantiating it. Remember when we have a class, we said data type, the name of the variable equals new. So this instantiating the connection. And this DV connection string is this right here. So we're actually setting up the connection here on this line right here using. And then from here, we're actually going to execute a command, right? And so that is called the OLEDB command class. So there's the connection instance here, and then there's the command instance. The connection is an OLEDB connection in a class based upon OLEDB connection class, and the command here is based off of the OLEDB command class. So this one is the instance of the connection. This one is the actual execution of this command. This SQL command really what grabs the data from the database. This one right here establishes the connection. So now we're going to go line by line from that package of data that we just got from this command right here. So we connect the, initialize the connection to our DB, and then we go from the first row of data that we got, and then loop to each of those data. And these are here while reader.read means that while you can read this, put the value of it on that current row and accumulate that into this output string, the output string variable that we identify. So we'll go line by line, and at the end, once we have the accumulation here, and then this one right here, just put like a carriage return line feed so that it goes to the next line. We close the reader that we open right here, and we save the output variable into our text box.
What's this value you're talking about for the artist?
It's the artist names right here. Now it's really I should have named this one artist name. So let me actually change that. No, I'm gonna change it later because I don't want to mess it up because we already have this set right here. So if we actually run the app, and I close the DB, right? It's closed. Access isn't running, right? Show artist, see now it's listing all the, pulling it from the database, and see where we had a karaoke party during Easter. I did some Metallica, so that's why my voice is a little bit struggling right now. It's really hard. Enter Sandman is kind of tough to sing. My mom has to yell at me for me to stop. Right, so to make a point that is actually working. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up this database, right? I'm going to open up this database right here, right? Artist. I'm going to add another artist. Give me a band.
Let's see. Creed.
Okay, Creed. I will put CR right here. That's the artist ID. Creed, right? So I added it here. Remember earlier there was no creed in that output, so in that output right there. So I'm gonna close it. Press creed now. Run this app. See now there's creed, and it's alphabetical. Yeah. And the idea to have a backend database, and the idea there is you will have hundreds of people making contributions in that database, and so when it outputs in one place, right?
So like the alphabetically in order, do you make a code on it to make it in the order, or it just automatically?
No, it's the code for it is the order by.
Order by?
See, if I remove this, let me remove this right here, right? So I removed it, right? Order by artist, right? It's just not in order.
When you instantiated OLED B command, did you use that for OLED data reader or no?
Yeah. You actually, you're talking about where do you actually use this? This one right here.
Yeah.
Well, you actually use this to actually execute it. OLED B command. Yeah, because you actually have to. Oh, you call this one so that it executes this query string right here and based off of this connection.
Okay.
So if you remove this, like if you comment it, it'll give us an error.
And it knows that that's the connection, even though it just says connection. Oh yeah, because you instantiated it.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to instantiate so that it execute this query right here based off of this connection, and this the actual execution of it right here. Command, see that command right here? It's actually this right here, like execute reader, and it'll put it whatever data we grab will be placed here. But again, it is a packaged data, and the only way you can go row by row, record by record, is by issuing a reader.read. So for example, if just make sure I got this right. So if we put this back right here, oops, order by artist. I think it's that. I think the ESC. Can be wrong, but so now it's in descending order. I don't know why you want to make it descending order, but for example, if you're dealing with numbers, right? So for example, let's just add this, right? Let's go to our database here, and I'm going to add. I'm just going to make this ranking, right? For example, you have a ranking, and we're going to have this as a number, right? And I don't know why I closed it. So here I'm going to rank obviously my Depeche Mode as number 10 right there. Coldplay is like an 8. MJ's got to be a 10. Metallica, that's a 9 for me. Tears, 7.
Oh, come on.
Which one, Metallica?
Tears for Fears, it's like a 10.
I'm actually going to see them on May 4th.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to have to go to Tulsa. Yeah, just to see that.
It was
It's Hall and Oates
Hall and Oates,
with
yeah.
Tears for Fears. Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
So they're actually making stuff here. So if you guys, if you guys are old enough to know those two bands, but U2, I used to like U2.
Not so much.
Not too much anymore. I saw them live.
What was
Oh, like in the '90s.
on the night?
Yeah.
During this
No, it's the one where they sold albums at Kmart, like the Pop Mart album. I don't know if you remember that. It's called Pop Mart album, and they sold their albums. They started selling at Kmart, something like that. And the music is just horrible. I mean, no, they're one of the greatest bands ever. I mean, don't get me wrong,
Pop wasn't great.
but it wasn't great. Right? 9,
I like that newest one.
10. Elvis is 10. Green Day 6.
Free album.
Linkin Park 7. So that's my ranking, right? I called it ranking. So I'm gonna say select artist from artist, ordered by ranking, right?
How does it know if it's just a string like that to look for ranking?
How does it know to rank that way?
Yeah, because that's just a string, right?
Oh, the ranking? No, it's actually a number.
Okay.
I made it a number on the database, but
Does it look for keywords or like within that string or no?
no. It's actually, I mean, it ranks it numerically,
Okay.
right? Because on our database, I made it like a 10, right? So it's sort of descending, right, in descending order. And you can actually say order by ranking.
Are you talking about the string written in code?
Yeah, let's
That's a pointer.
Let's say like you spelled it wrong. Then when it would still be able to like tell or no?
It's correct in because that's the name he has in the database.
Oh yeah. This one right here is how I named it in the database. Yeah, I called it ranking. Yeah. Order by artist. I think you can do it like that. Hold on. Let me make sure. I may mess this up, but see, it's messed up. Doesn't like it.
So just to be clear, you have it in quotations, but it's not recognizing it as a string. It's just the vehicle for the program to understand to point to that database area.
Yeah. So what it is this one right here. It has to be a proper, like the one I'm doing now. It's not correct, right? So it doesn't understand this. Visual Studio cannot really, it cannot troubleshoot and check for syntax for SQL. This is, you can easily just type in A, B, C, D, E, F, G here, and it's not going to give you an error. All it's doing is, okay, you define your SQL statement here, and I'm going to push that SQL statement on this command here. This is the one now that will interpret what that is. So you better get this right. But let me just go. Let me just do this real quick. SQL order by. Okay, you can do actually two. All I need to do is, so I can say order by ranking in descending order, and then comma artist. If I don't put what type of sorting is it, it's automatically in ascending order. So what I'm doing here is sort it by ranking, and after that sort it by artist within that rank alphabetically. So I'm going to run this. See now, see the Depeche Mode, Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson. They're all 10s on mine.
Looks like alphabetical still, but pre-sorted with your ranking.
Yeah, let me see if what happens if you have two. select artist ranking. Like if I want to get the ranking value as well, let me see what. Plus, I'm actually just guessing right now and see how this is going to work. I'm not really sure. I think it's 1. But
That's the pointer to the column.
yeah, 0 is the first column. See, now it's correct. So what I'll do now is I'll plus. Then what is a it's tab /t, right? Yeah, I think I think it is /t. So let's plus \t. I think is a tab. See, that's why I don't like tabs, because it doesn't align correctly. See how it's not aligned correctly? But you guys get the idea, right? So now, as you can see, all the 10s are ranked first, right? Because I say in our code here, ranking from artist order by ranking descending, right? So it's now ranked in descending order. The 10s are the ones that showed up first, and U2 is the last one. But within the 10, I say artist. Automatically, it's in ascending order. So that's why this is alphabetical also. All the 10s are alphabetical, right? Then the Creed, Metallica, Linkin Park, right? So instead of T, I'm just going to put... What happens if you put two tabs? Yeah, still not aligned. Right, so so one thing also is that you can do is let's say you want to add a I'm gonna have a combo box here, right? And you want to have a combo box of the albums, right? So what we've learned in the combo box is you can actually put items within this, right?
Yeah.
Right? You can put items here. You can type in apple blue, right? Apple blue, banana, orange, right? So you can actually hard code your pick lister on a combo box. But what if you want to pull the data from a database for your combo box? If you get into again database development and all that, web application, you will have to learn how to do that. So what we'll do is we're going to remove this, right? We don't want to have any contents there. So what you can do is you go up here to data source. You can click here and you can say I want to connect to this binding data source right here, the one we created earlier, and you can say I didn't specify fields.
Is it only compatible with that other program you said? What was it? ADE or something? The Microsoft Access Engine.
Well, yes. Well, the driver that you're going to install is that's only for Access, and any other OLE DB compatible, which is pretty much just Access. So let me just define another data source here. database data set. I'll define that next. I'm gonna define, say album, right? Album right here. Okay. So that's the album, and you can say, so that's where it's gonna connect to that table album. But you can say, which part of that album do you want to show? And I want the album name to show. See the display member of this data source. So when you run this, you now can see the names of the album right here as a pick list. And so the way it works is, in a work environment, you have people that will do the data entry, so you don't have to actually populate that. They populate it for you. Does that make sense? So again, the first step really is understanding this. This is the most important thing. Understanding why you need to do this, and making the calls to actually read the data. And it doesn't matter what development framework you're going to use. It's pretty much the same steps. You define your connection string, you define your command, whatever framework you're going to use. This one here, we're using the OLEDB connection and OLEDB command. That's all we're doing there, and that's how we get the data.
The connections for the driver, right?
Yeah, the connections are based off of this driver right here, this namespace system data OLEDB. So you can see if we don't have this, if I actually comment that, you'll see all these things now are not recognized. But if we actually activate it, now they're active. All right, so 7:16 guys, so let's take a 15-minute break, and we're going to learn how to do a variable query where you can actually do a search. And because this one here, everything is hard-coded. What if you were looking for a specific artist? All right, so we're going to learn what if you're looking for a specific song, right? So we're going to learn how that works. So all right, guys, so it's 7:16, come back 7:30. Let me pause. Let's look at our database here. And what we're going to do is show, so this is our songs, right? And it has this album ID. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the album ID, and we're going to make it show the songs under that album ID. So in our situation here, we're just going to be using the album ID, okay? So again, we're going to be outputting the songs under the album ID that we selected. Make sense? So, album ID, song title. Okay. So, let's go ahead and change this to show album ID. And let's make sure that it's actually working. And it's album name still. I selected album ID, not.
Make changes while the database is open.
Is it open?
I don't know if that was on.
Yeah, I think I closed it. Oh yeah. Oh, there you go.
Sorry. I thought it was-
No, you're good. Yeah, no. It's running. So it's. Let me run it again. I thought it's supposed to just show the album. There it is. See the album ID, right? The idea is we're gonna select this, and it will show all the songs here. So that's the idea. So let's do that. And I'm gonna go ahead again and copy and paste codes. So I'm going to add a button here.
How much could you sell this program for?
Huh?
How much could you sell this program for?
How much do I sell?
How much could you sell it for?
$1 maybe. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Valuing. Have we talked about how you value? We talked about this in class, right? How you value your software. No. It's a systems analysis class, so it's not a right class for it, but it's not many hours. But it's a good point. And the way I value software that I develop, and I do develop software for small businesses, and I've done quite a few, is obviously you have to gauge the difficulty of putting it together, and it's not usually how long it took you to put it together, and it's usually the amount of skill that you apply to putting it together. Because you can develop database application or web application, and it took you 3 months because there's just a lot of copying and pasting of content into the page, not a lot of thinking. So that's one thing. It's the amount of skill that you apply to putting it together. And secondly is, what is the value of that software to the company? You got to look at that. So and you obviously you're not going to ask your client, what is it going to do to your company? You got to figure that out by talking to them. So for me, I will try to fish some information, like what does it mean to them if they don't actually end up not using the software? And is it going to be catastrophic to them, or are they going to move on, continue on with their lives, and the business going to move forward? So those are the kind of things you got to figure out. And I have quite some businesses where it became like a big deal to their company. Like if the software doesn't work, they're pretty much screwed for the day. Those kind of thing. Or sometimes if it doesn't work, they still have a piece of paper they can write things down. So you got to figure that out. So I've sold software where I only sold it for $200. I've developed software where they paid me $30,000. I mean, not a lump sum, but it's like a 6-month project.
Do you also then charge for any support you give after the fact?
Well, you have to have some type of service level agreement with them, because it is always, and every software that I develop, it's always an issue about this scope creep. They don't have the right understanding of when is it going to end. Like Richard, we thought this 10 reports is going to be just built in. I said no, we got to design it, and you guys have to request it. So yeah, so make sure you put that in writing as there's a scope, and at one point, you say, okay, I can do that, but at one point you got to stop. Because no, they cannot keep doing that. But they have a project where they paid me a lot of money, but also there was an initial misunderstanding, and they almost told me that, Richard, we're no longer doing this because I can't believe that we're paying for all these things, even though we have a contract that this is all I'm going to do. And I showed them, see that contract? I fulfilled all those 50 things that you said that you want. It's all there. But you just want something in addition because you saw this other program from this other company and you think it's a cool feature to add, but that's not a part of the original specification. But you have to be firm, and so at one point, they still owe you a lot of money, but they want you to do these other things. So there's a balance. If they feel like the software is not that important, they're not going to pay you. And I have companies like that. If they didn't pay me, because they realize if Richard stopped working on this, we're still gonna be fine. But there's quite a few more companies that they're stuck with me. Richard, you gotta finish it up. So
It's essential for their business.
yeah, and I've developed awesome application. I've developed crappy application. I've developed crappy application where people paid a lot of money. I don't know why.
What's the name of your profession?
Well, the name of my company is Fox Systems. I have to have a professional name.
But like your job, like what are you? You're
Well, my full-time job, I'm a database administrator. I don't really do database administration every day. But just when you get promoted, you pretty much take whatever name. I'm being recorded here, right? You can pretty much take whatever name, whatever title you have to get the promotion. If that's database admin. But yeah. So, and if you guys are gonna get into software development, mobile development is one place where you can actually. There's not a lot of desktop application anymore. It's mostly web application and mobile application. That's where the market is. But the good thing is there's a lot of framework now where you can convert like a desktop application into like a web application automatically. Like Xamarin. There's a lot of framework now. All right, so let's do this. So I'm gonna call this one BTN Show Songs, and I'm just gonna call this one Show Songs, right? And again, I'm gonna go to that open recent if I can find it. I think it's this one right here. No, this is the one I'm working on. This one right here. This one right here? No, this one right here. It's not that. That's the designer. Open recent. Hey, here it is. Okay. I'm just gonna copy this. Sorry guys. I don't wanna type. And go here and paste it. So you can see it's the same connection string. You have to identify the title of the songs. So select song title from songs. So song title from songs where album ID equals question mark, because that's what we need to find out what that is. And this one here is txt output, right? Yeah. And same thing, we instantiate the connection using OLDB connection. Use the defined connection string. We instantiate the command to execute the SQL statement, which is this, given the query string and the defined connection. We open up the connection, right, which is this, to our database. And then you identify what is this question mark for. right? What is this question mark for? And that will just this. See this album ID right here? This will actually move here, right? This thing right here will move right there. And what value did you put here? The value that we put here, let me see, what's the name of this combo box? Forget what the name of that is. We named it combo box 1, right? And it's right here. So we grab the value of that combo box, put it in a variable called album ID. So this one right here, this command that parameters add with value, is put an the add symbol, the first one, album ID right there. Whatever this is, will get this value, which is this one right here, which is our combo box, right? The album that we selected. And then this will execute and put the result of this query into the reader. Once it's there, then we can just go to each of the songs. This includes now the different rows of songs that we got. So let's run this. I will select what is this? One of my favorite album, Songs of Devotion album. So those are the songs right there. You know why there's a listen?
I was about to ask that.
Why there's listen there? I think I copied and pasted the song list from like an Amazon where you can buy music, and there's like a listen right opposite. So I just copied and pasted it and just put it into and import it into the database. I think that's why. And then you can select like Joshua Tree. That one, the greatest album. It's a U2 album. See, that one is. Yeah, that one of the best album there is. Joshua Tree.
I'm not exactly clear why the add symbol is in the string parameters add with value.
Yeah, because the add with value, it has to go into a placeholder, because this one right here has to go here, right? The question mark. So the question mark here is actually the first parameter. So what you're saying here, you know what? Let's do that. Add with value. Let's Google that, because I don't want to make stuff up and sound like I'm real smart. I don't know either. It is a template that I got. Add with value. Yeah, this one here is. See, this one is a full word, right? See, at.
And it's the same thing up there. At the brackets or
You know what? Let's try that. Let's.
Maybe the program's too smart.
That it knows.
And it's accounting for the full name.
Yeah, let's try that. Let's see if we'll add an actual. Yeah. Well, if actually here they actually say it's not a question mark, they actually have the @ symbol. Let's use the @ symbol here instead, and see if that's if it's gonna make a difference. Just the same as that. Yeah, it's doing this. It's the same thing. So it's actually better to do it this way, because this one here is sort of a placeholder. So this one here. So what it is whenever this exists, replace this with whatever this value is, which is in this case here, what we select in our combo box that's placed into a variable, right? I mean, I think we made it because I can make this one ABC and make this ABC and make it ABC, and this album ID now is the same as this album ID, and I can call this one album ID string. So now we know this album ID is the actual field from the database, right? Album ID from the table. This one now is the album ID string that we defined that captures the value of the combo box. And this one right here is the placeholder to substitute this, which is the value of this. Well, let's run it first, make sure that it actually works. Parrot Meteor, yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, it makes more sense. So that one is.
It shows the placeholder, but what does it put like?
Well, like this one right here, you say for every instance of this at ABC, right?
Yeah.
On that query string, which is this one right here, the command, which is right here, it has query string. For every instance of this, replace it with this value. So in this query string right here, where you have at ABC,
Yeah.
replace this with this, with whatever this is.
And almost every song probably has ABC, right?
Huh?
Almost every song probably just has ABC.
No, the at ABC is just a random thing that I put there. I mean, you can put XYZ, you can even put your name.
Okay.
So this is just like a placeholder for it.
Okay.
Like, you can make it ABC 1, 2, 3 XYZ, and then obviously you got to replace this one with that as well, right? So what it is put this value to whatever this is. So I'm gonna make this 1, 2, 3 XYZ, right? And you run this.
What if you took out the placeholder altogether?
Huh?
What if you took out the placeholder altogether?
If you took it from here or here?
Like just like altogether take it off.
Well, then you're not gonna get the right values. Like if I actually get rid of this that we're saying like that,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get any values.
Even if you leave like a album ID string.
Huh?
Even if you leave album ID string.
Are you talking about this one right here?
Yeah. But in that in the one that you slashed out.
Well, let me just stop this. Even if you leave this in
Yeah.
and you get rid of this,
Yes.
well, it's still not going to work. And the reason is because this has to replace that. And this one right here is really the one that grabs data from our database.
Oh, okay.
And this provides which songs of which album do we want. And this actually will give us the album ID. And we'll have some examples later, because in reality, right? In reality, when you create an application, you're not going to be showing the album IDs there. You're actually going to be showing the album names, right? So how can we make that connection? Because if we look at our DB, if we look at our database, the schema of our database here shows album ID, right? So, but you get the album name from here. So last thing we go. So the way you do it is, for example, if you get into, so if you do a query design in the database, right? So I want to see all the songs, right? I want to see it from songs and album, right? So I have this. I want to see all the songs based off of this album, right? And then this album name, right? This album ID, right? As I've said, if we look at our database here, I don't know that the Joshua 3 has Joshua as the album ID, but I know the Joshua 3, right? I know Ultra as the name of the album. Songs of Faith and Devotion, I don't know that the album ID of that is Devotion. So if I want to see the Hurton songs in my query here, I will say the Hurton right here. And I will run the query. If I know how to do it, run the query. As you can see, it does show me all the songs, right? And you can see, well, what is that query? Then you go here. You have to know how you can join tables. And then this will be now our SQL statement on the application. That query string, you got to use this now. And then you specify that question mark is the one in the combo box. We're going to try this next week, in addition to updating, deleting. This where if you get into web application database, this where it actually is all fun and challenging at the same time. I can spend hours doing this. And the first thing is making it like a listing. Once I can get a connection and I get a list, I'm happy. And then the next thing is I can set up parameters like this one here. So yeah, well, that's how I learned how to do SQL. Is this? I will define my query in Access like this, and I said, oh yeah, this. So if I run this, yeah, this is what I want, right? This is what I want on my web page, right? Like this listing. So what is the SQL for that? Here it is. It's actually all one line, and it's just so happened that they make it 3 lines, but on your SQL queries like this, you're gonna call it like this. The only thing that is a variable is the album name. That's where you put the question mark or the @ symbol.
It's easy to understand, but when, like me, I don't understand
SQL,
yet,
yeah.
But that's you're just telling us that's the syntax.
That's the syntax for it, yeah.
We should understand that when you put them in quotations, it's not a string. That is the command.
That's the
in
command.
SQL.
Yeah.
And you're pointing to it the way you point to a variable in this string. The
Yeah.
command is using @
Yeah, exactly.
and
So yeah,
and then a variable name.
yeah.
And then you comma, and then that's a supply pointer. the value.
The value for it, yeah, that you need to get the
You're
data.
getting data from
Yeah.
a combo box, which you've already said the combo box is equal to this value,
Yeah,
and then you further defined it down with the command.
that's correct. So I don't want to have the impression that it's this easy. You know, you have to learn SQL,
Yes.
right? So I don't want to make it sound like that's the SQL. No, you have to learn SQL. It's just it's another class, a database class. But for me, I have an understanding of SQL, but so that I don't have to think about it, I can use a tool like Access where it will actually show me the correct SQL.
Pre-do it, so you could copy that.
Yeah, copy this.
Put it in the quotation marks, and then that will give you the pointer.
Exactly. So now I know, okay, all I need to change is that, because that will be the album name in that combo box. That's what you're saying. So, yeah, that's it. So, yeah, this is pretty much what I do almost every day. Stuff like this.
What would you say?
Once you do it every day, it sounds hard, but once you have you do it, I mean, it's really not that complicated anymore. But yeah, it requires knowledge of SQL. But all I'm showing you guys here is all the steps that is required: connection string, the command, parsing it, outputting it. Yeah. So, you guys have any questions?
It's a whole nother world.
Yeah, it's a whole other world. Yeah.
When you spoke about the drivers and installing them, is that something that's done when you install Access, or is it something?
No, it wasn't done. You have to install it separate.
And where would the location be for the drive?
Oh yeah, you just install it. So for example, let me just stop this recording here.